Uh-oh, my truck's in the garage. This can't be good. Well, probably not. Got the code scanner hooked up here. This thing was barely able to run here the other day when I was hauling my new industrial parts washer home. Let's see what we got. Cylinder number 5 misfire detected. Oh, great. So, more than likely, number 5 coil pack, or it could be number 5 spark plug, which I doubt it. This thing only has 75,000 miles on it, even though it's over 10 years old. Or it could be a plug injector. I'm going to try the coil pack, and since I already got that off, I'm going to put a new plug in it too. If you ever worked on these 5.4s and the F-150s of these years, they're not easy to work on when it comes to coil packs and such. Yeah, they're way down in there. Of course, the number 5's right up front here. It's the first one on this side, so it's not nearly as bad as if it was way back in there. So I'm going to have to start ripping some of this stuff out of here and get to that coil pack and see if that changes anything. I don't have a real good way of testing them at the moment, but now that I believe that's a problem, I'm going to have to find some way to test these. I'm not sure if there really is a good way. Probably once one fails, and this thing is 10 years old, it's probably best just to replace all of them at this point. But we'll yank that one out of there and take a look at the plug. Of course, it's probably not going to look very good if the coil pack hasn't been firing. Hopefully that'll cure the problem and it won't be an injector or who knows what else. Cracked heads like these things are known for, or another bad thing. But I'll be back probably in an hour. Well, there's the offending cylinder, hopefully coil pack. See, there's a little bolt right there. Unscrew that, and then you gotta pull that connector off, and that comes out of there with a little bit of twisting and turning. So it takes a 7mm socket to do that. So I'll get that unscrewed and get that thing out of there, and then I'll work on the spark plug. Oh, there is the hopefully offending coil pack. Notice got some corrosion around the spark plug boot there. I don't know if that really matters or not. Looks like maybe a little bit of moisture got down in there. Got this connector right here, and when you look at that at first, it may not be necessarily obvious what releases to get that off of there. Well, you got a little button right here you push in, and it just slides right off. So I'm going to look this thing over, and probably not going to tell anything. I'm going to do resistance reading just for the heck of it, see if it's totally open. But there's probably not much I'm going to garner from that. And I'll put the new coil pack in, but first comes the fun part. I gotta get that spark plug out of there. Wish me luck on that. Hopefully I don't take the threads out of the head while I'm at it, which, yeah, is a common problem. They only had, I think, 3 threads in these heads, and sometimes they come right out with the plug. So hopefully I don't run into anything like that. That'll definitely ruin my afternoon if it does. Well, there's a spark plug out of it. Doesn't look to me like it took any threads out, so I'm certainly happy about that. Not sure what to make of all this grease and grime and garbage all over it. Looks to me like maybe the valve cover is leaking a little bit down into there. I don't know if maybe that's part of the problem. Now also, that gap is super huge. Like I said, this truck's got about 75,000 miles, so I was actually kind of planning on changing these when I go on vacation at the end of August. And right now I'm just going to change this one and see how things go, because I got some things I need to be hauling. But it might have been more the plug than the coil pack, but basically I'm going to replace all the coil packs while I'm at it whenever I do this. But it's Motorcraft AGSF 22WM, and that's what I get to put in it. And you don't need any of these fancy spark plugs with 6 electrodes and whatever else on them. 6 electrodes and silver and platinum. Well, actually platinum's good. This here is the identical plug that come off there. And one thing about this plug here, it has the coating on it. I'm not sure what that is, whether it's nickel plated or what, but it has that coating on there that helps keep that from seizing into your heads. And supposedly, I got to do a little more research on that, but supposedly they recommend that you put these in without never seize, which I find that hard to believe. I think I'll put some on regardless. But yeah, if you look at I don't know if the gap's really that much different. I haven't checked to see what the gap is on these, but it's going to get a new plug, a new coil pack, and we'll see if that cylinder quits misfiring. One good thing, even though this plug does look pretty crappy, obviously it hasn't been firing very well. It doesn't look like it's got any water or anything like that in there, so that's a good sign. But anyways, I'll get this back together and we'll see how it runs. Another thing, I don't know if this will be the last portion I film in this or not, but I'm also going to take videos with my camera. Just to, basically what I did is I took videos as I took it apart in certain areas, just to, like, as a visual reference for myself, and I'll attach them to the end of this video. So if you're performing this job, then if you need some sort of visual reference, then you'll have it. Yeah, I'm getting ready to put this plug in. I did decide to use never seize, even though I keep reading that you shouldn't. I don't know, I find that hard to believe, but maybe so. I will be torquing it fairly tightly. I guess one of the reasons why these plugs were blown out of the heads was because they were kind of backing off over time. So I'm going to, obviously these are aluminum heads with only 3 threads, so it's not like I'm going to be jamming them in tight, but super tight, but I will be torquing them reasonably tightly. And here's some of you old Chrysler Hemi guys probably remember this. In order to get it down that deep hole there, that's not an easy thing to do. And all of my spark plug sockets have the inserts gone in them. I don't know about anybody else, but usually the rubber inserts disintegrate in no time. So you take a rubber hose and you use that to get it started down in there. I got to cut some of this off. I got this chunk of hose. It's probably 1.5 feet long, but yeah, this is a good way to do that. You can get the thread started anyways, get it started down in there good and straight, and then drop your socket and extension down in there. I guess they make a long spark plug wrench for these engines, but you know, I don't have one, and this is the way I'm going to do it. It'll work just fine. Well, you want to put a little dab of silicone lubricant right on the end here. You don't want to, some stupid people fill that thing clear up with it. You don't want that. All you want is just a little tab on there. And I usually put a little dab on each one of these terminals, and that's it. Same thing, you don't need to glob it on, which is actually probably more hurtful than helpful. And yeah, that's a GM product I have. Yeah, blasphemy on a Ford, but it's probably made by Dow Corning like everybody else's, so it works just fine. Just as a little tip when you're putting these air filter housings back on, if you look right there, see the little tab that's triangular? You can get this on backwards, or you can try to put it on backwards and it won't fit. If that's the case, you want to look down here and see if the triangle's facing the correct way, and that'll get the band turned the right direction, and just slide it all together and off you go. Well, it's definitely seemed to cure the problem for now. I just drove it up the road to the corner and back. I had everything all opened up, all my garage doors and stuff, and while I have pretty good neighbors, if anybody happened to step foot in my garage, I'd have probably 6 neighbors calling me at once telling me about it, but obviously didn't want to leave everything wide open and leave for half an hour. But took it up the road, definitely ran good. And I come back, when I made the turn around the corner, I gave it some pretty heavy throttle, which before it would just basically stumble and spit and sputter. And actually it was spitting and sputter and heavy throttle or not. So that definitely cured the problem for now. That other spark plug, you measure the gap on it, it's about 75 thousandths, so that certainly wasn't helping anything. But obviously all the other plugs are in about the same shape, and all the other coil packs are probably close to being gone. So like I said, end of August I'm going to change the rest of them, which ought to be really fun. Some of those you can't even see. You probably have to pull the fuel rail off and everything else. But anyways, looks like another project solved, I guess.